morning and welcome to Auckland Unitarians, here in our beautiful building where Unitarians have been meeting every week for more than 120 years. My name is Vivian Allen and I'll be your service leader today. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too, seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong. A sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time in worship with us or your 100th time, we hope you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. Our speaker today is Sonja Carlson, who's going to give us an introspective of Unitarian Universalism through the lens of a third-generation UU. She'll give us her perspective on what brings people in, what keeps them coming, and what has them raise their children as the same. After our service, thank you guys, we'll form small groups for discussion, followed by morning tea. Please stay for a cup of tea or coffee after the service. It's our sacrament of hospitality. And also I'd like to give a warm welcome to those on Zoom today who'll be joining in on Zoom. Today is Mother's Day, so I'd like to share with you a short history of Mother's Day this is from a Unitarian, US Unitarian perspective. In 1872, Unitarian Julia Ward Howe began advocating the creation of a Mother's Day for peace, to be held on June the 2nd every year. The following year, 18 cities held such a gathering. Bostonians continued to observe the day for more than a decade, while some cities continued the observance until this turn of the century, when the annual Mother's Day for Peace appears to have died out. In 1907, Anna Jarvis, a Methodist, began a campaign to establish a permanent Mother's Day. By the following year, the YMCA had taken up the cause. In 1914, Woodrow Wilson signed a congressional resolution establishing Mother's Day in the United States. In time, the day became to be marked in many other countries. But Anna Jarvis was troubled by the commercialisation of the day, saying, "I wanted it to be a day of sentiment, not profit." Inalterably opposed to the sale of flowers, but not the giving of homegrown blossoms, she also lamented the event of the Mother's Day card, describing it as a poor excuse for the letter you're too lazy to write. Interesting though, Mother's Day is the most heavily attended Sunday in North American churches, outside of Christmas and Easter. In Unitarian Universalist congregations, the day has increasingly taken on a sense of being a day to mark the contributions of all women. The history of Mother's Day reminds us that it's more than a day for flowers. It's a time to highlight the aspects of motherhood that are not usually visible in the greeting card aisles. It's a call to honour the resiliency of all those who mother, especially those who bear the brunt of hurtful policies or who are weighed down by stigma in our culture. It's an opportunity to take action, to create the conditions so that all families can thrive. we light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one, baby, child, or youth into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, energy to the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love. Now I'm wondering if we can have the covenant. Thank you. Now can we say this together? Love is the doctrine of the church. And service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with ourselves. Now we relax and we're going to enjoy some music from Jamie. This one is Sonata number 5, Chorale by Mendelssohn. Jamie. That was beautiful. I was one of the ones who was a bit cynical about the organ restoration, because organs to me have always been this church, traditional church from my childhood. We're boring Sundays. So when Clay pushed this project and we had the anonymous donor, I was a little bit cynical. And also 30 years ago when I came here, the only organ we used was for the hymns or songs. So again, it was kind of dirgy. But now I'm being won over. Thank you, Jamie. I realise that, and that's why I quite like that we take the advantage of actually hearing some beautiful music and not just donkey, songs. It's just lovely. Thank you. So let's make the most of it. I've now got a short reading by Katie Lee Crane. Katie Lee Crane is a North American experimental film director and producer based in New York, and she's an interesting woman who I googled. May, these are Katie's words. May means Mother's Day. I'm going to trust Hallmark and daddies and 6-year-olds and grown-up kids who are mummies themselves to honour the mothers among us as they deserve to be honoured. With brass bands, flags flying, breakfast in bed, and kitchens cleaned up afterwards. I wish for those mothers a memorable day full of love and laughter. Sadly, I don't trust Hallmark to remember the feelings of the women who don't fit Mother's Day in quite the same wonderful way. There are no cards on the rack for women who gave up children for adoption, never to see them again. No cards for the women who faced a painful and difficult choice to end a pregnancy. No cards for women who desperately want to conceive and bear children and cannot. No cards for women who have lost children of any age, or for the women whose children have abandoned them in anger. There is little consolation for them on a day so full of motherhood. Every year when Mother's Day rolls around, I wish there were just a little less hype about traditional motherhood and a little more acknowledgement of not so traditional mothers in our midst. People who come in all colours, shapes, sizes, genders and ages. And more than anything, I wish there was a lot more empathy for those who suffer because, as mothers are being honoured, they don't fit in quite the same wonderful way. Let us honour them all on this day. Women who conceived, women who bore, women who reared, women who lost, women who let go, women who made difficult choices, and people of any gender who mother. Happy day. May each of you know your worth to all of us. Now, welcome, Sonja, to Auckland Unitarians. We're really pleased you found our congregation while you're here in Auckland. Sonja is a 22-year-old engineering student spending the semester at Auckland University of Technology. She's one of the few third-generation Unitarian Universalists through the decision of her mother's parents, her parents. We're very lucky to have Sonja come today to give us her unique perspective of growing up Unitarian. Sonja.
Hello, everyone. I would like to start off today by telling a story. From there, I will describe some of my own experiences growing up a UU, and then I will analyze our 7 principles and explain thoughts others have had about UUism as they have told me. I will end by explaining my own creed. But first, as I said, a story. In 1949, Richard Marcus met Muriel Happel at a college party at Harvard University. They fell in love, got married, and had 2 wonderful little girls. However, they had a problem. Richard was a reformist Jew from an Orthodox family. Muriel, on the other hand, was Protestant and unwilling to convert. The Marcuses' reaction to the refusal to convert did not encourage her to change her mind about that. Richard and Muriel wanted a religious community in which they could raise their children to appreciate faith systems and make their own choices with their spirituality. They learned about the Unitarian Universalist Church in Buffalo, New York, where they remained for the rest of their lives. A few years later, my mother, Leslie, was born, becoming the first in the Marcus family to be born a UU. I asked my mother to explain what UUism means to her, and her response was thus. Along with the values and lessons of my family, the UU principles, learning in RE about and respect for different faith traditions, and being part of many living, committed, and curious congregations helped me form my own values of community, connection, and purpose that guide me every day. I am part of a shared community in every aspect of my being, extending from family and friends to the people, flora, and fauna around me and throughout the world. We are connected by our shared space and resources, and equally importantly, by the need for balance in our common existence. This interconnected web was solidified for me at a young age when my 7th grade earth science teacher told us, atoms from the dinosaurs are part of the cornflakes we eat every day. My purpose, still meeting Leslie, is to give what I can every day toward the greater good of my community, to listen, learn, support, enjoy, share, and love, to play my part in the giant circle of life. Leslie's commitment to UUism has been lifelong, though with some ups and downs when it comes to actual attendance. Then, July 6th, 1994, she was sent on a blind date by her friend, this coffee cart guy, Eric Carlson. Within a month, they had decided the other was going to be the one they spent the rest of their lives with. For my mother, this meant, a few months later, bringing him to church with her. Now, Eric's parents are Congregationalist Christian, but they weren't very religious when my father and his brother were growing up, at least not in such a way that instilled Christianity into him. What this means is that when he was told Leslie went to church every Sunday, in conjunction with a slight misunderstanding of Unitarian Universalism as the Unity Church, Eric thought he'd fallen in love with a devout Christian. That ended just around the time he first heard a UU sermon. The topic? Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go, a book, my sister noted upon hearing this story, UU seemed to be mildly obsessed with. Eric found himself enjoying the community and acceptance of the All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. Fast forward 10 years, 6 of them in Eastern Europe, 2 children, 1 small bulldozer revolution in Serbia, and 1 newly founded company. And my family moved to Silver Spring, Maryland, just a 10-minute or half-hour, depending on the traffic, drive from Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church in Bethesda. I loved growing up a UU, especially at that church. At the beginning of each religious education class, we'd sing to light the challenge, combining two of my favorite things, singing and fire. And for the last 15 to 20 minutes of class, depending on the day, we'd go to chapel, our own smaller sanctuary in which all the kids could gather and have our own service, most often led by Reverend Susan Archer, before we joined the adults for coffee hour. Sometimes they were even waiting for us. The RE program taught me so much about our world. In Haunting House, when I was 7, I learned about the concepts of birth and death, beginning and end to everything that I know. Stepping Stones, when I was 12, we learned about all sorts of different religions: Judaism, Buddhism, Hindu, Islam, and more, which included going to the various houses of worship and learning from their worship leaders. That then led into coming of age, during which each child spends the year deciding what parts of all of that we liked and valued, and that we supported and believed. At the end of the year, kids have the option to speak their creed in front of the congregation. And then they go into Our Whole Lives, OWL, which is the most comprehensive sex and gender education anyone could ever want anywhere. When I was 12, my family moved away from DC. Actually, we moved about 40 minutes from where my mom grew up, which made our home church, once again, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, New York. That is where I was a part of the youth group for 3 years, spending many Sunday mornings talking with my peers, each of us teaching the others and having in-depth conversations about complex problems in a way that we didn't necessarily get to in our homes, schools, or jobs. It was a time to dedicate to having proper conversations with our peers without something else distracting or getting in the way. Now, I have gotten some weird looks when I tell people I'm a UU. In fact, one person asked just last week if I was in a cult. Sam, you want to raise your hand?
I'm about to check.
UUism is new, it's odd, and it's not very popular or well known. Often, the person I'm talking to has no idea that this is a thing at all, much less what it's about. I tell them this: Unitarian Universalism is a religion where you can believe whatever you want to believe, so long as you respect the beliefs of others as well. I tell them that even within my own family, we do not believe the same thing. My sister is a monotheist. She believes in one capital G God. My mom believes in an energy connecting everything, and my dad in a force that guides the way. And personally, I have described myself as a polytheist, believing in, though not worshiping, the ancient gods. I was in youth group with a witch, and though admittedly I never did see her do any kind of magic, so that could be up in the air. And remember that Hindu temple I said I visited? We were given the tour by our own minister, Reverend, I'm going to try with this name, Abhi Prakash Janamanchi, from our UU church. He was and is both the senior called minister of the UU church and a practicing Hindu, with neither community or religion being sacrificed for the other in his eyes. Our religion is based on the 7 principles you can see hanging on the right wall. We believe in 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. 5, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregation and in society at large. 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. What I love about those principles is that none of them say anything specific. They're all broad, open to interpretation, and based upon respect for ourselves and others. They also, I don't know if you've noticed, create a cone. We start with respecting each human as an individual, recognizing their inherent worth and dignity with which we wish to be recognized ourselves. We then keep widening the scope of that respect. We don't only recognize another's dignity, we treat them with it. Then we don't just treat them with dignity, but also their thoughts, ideas, and beliefs as well. From there, we move beyond the individual to the group. The conscience and democratic responsibility we have ranges from our congregation to our society. Then we go to the whole world and trying to make it a better place for everyone. Finally, we end with respecting and acknowledging the whole of existence, that we are all connected, humans, animals, and other organisms, and everything else. You may have noticed, though, that only makes up 6 of the principles. The 4th breaks the pattern, or you could say creates the pattern. For millennia, humans from cultures all over the world have ascribed power to some numbers, 2 of which are 3 and 7. As UUs, we have 7 principles. But you could also see us as having 3, 3, and 1 principles. The first 3 relate to other individuals and our interactions with them. The latter 3 relate to how we respond in larger groups, in interactions with the world at large. The 4th, however, is the only one that relates to the self. It is our personal, free, and responsible search for truth that creates our community. We question ourselves and each other. We are constantly looking to expand our view of the world through the scientific, mystical, spiritual, and any other way we find. We help each other on our own journeys, walking together down a path that twists and turns, in which each traveler may come and go as they please, building our own views of the realities of life. In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, one of the definitions of religion is a cause, principle, or system of beliefs that is held to with ardor and faith. The other definitions all require a shared God or gods. But that is not what religion is about for us. In my experience, UUism is about the community. The community, whether it is as small as simply the people in this church, or as large as an entire country. Community is our cause, our most basic belief. And to help others however we can, and to be helped in return. Not because it is a transaction, but because we can rely on each other. And we treat others the way we want to be treated. We wish our beliefs to be respected, and so we respect others' beliefs in turn. Since starting university, I have gone to church without my family for the first time. The First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, Vermont, gave me a sense of community and belonging that I was lacking for most of my first year. Through it, I have made friends that I have breakfast with weekly before church. We had a great developmental minister, Reverend Patricia Hart, who actually was introduced to UUism at the All Souls Church in DC around the same time my parents were there. And she was the interim minister for 2 years at the UU Church in my father's hometown. This past Northern Hemisphere fall, our new minister, Reverend Karen G. Johnson, introduced a concept during the water gathering. She said the water we gathered was blessed. I was concerned because I personally don't believe in a deity that could bless. And then she elaborated. The water is blessed not by some higher power, but by us as a community. The power of our community bless the water that would be used in ceremonies for the rest of the year, spreading that blessing as it goes. It was a concept that anyone can be the higher power. A group of anyone can be a higher power, so long as you believe and wish it. That reminded me of something my mom has spoken about. One of her favorite parts of church, when she feels the most connected to everyone else, is when we sing. She says she pictures the sound coming from each mouth, spreading around and up into one voice in the eaves of the church, held there and soaked into the wood, joining everyone who has, does, and will sing together as one. In preparing for this speech, I asked a few people what they like about Unitarian Universalism. After all, most UUs joined from other religions, with or without maintaining those prior beliefs. A few common traits stood out to me. The first was acceptance. No one is arguing how or how not to be a UU. No one is arguing how or how not to live. No matter who you are or what you do, you will receive unconditional acceptance within our community. I'm sure, now that I've said that, most of you are thinking, well, what about this? Or maybe except for that. Answer me this, though. Whatever you've just thought of, would it truly be enough to make you not want to welcome someone who wanted to be here? If it's a problem, would it really be so much that you would not want to help? Another common trait was, of course, our principles, which I already spoke about. Our core values do not require you to believe in something or someone. There are no ceremonies, traditions, or routines we have to complete. They're very live and let live community with a basis in respect for each other's choices. Our values also do not require a lack of belief in anything. You can believe in capital G God, ancient gods, nature as a deity, or a flying spaghetti monster. The world is open to you to explore, explain, and observe as you see fit. Now, before I go, my family moved to Buffalo just before my coming of age year. There was some problems with the minister at the Buffalo church for those first couple of years, so I didn't properly start going to church again until I was in youth group. As such, I never got to speak my creed. I would like to do so now. I believe in respect. The respect of all of us for ourselves and each other. The respect we hold for everything from the incredible vastness of the universe to the complexity of the and variability of the smallest quark, which is what atoms are made of. I believe in community, in the fact that I was in a new country, half a world away from everything that I know and love. And I walked through those doors and I felt at peace and I felt at home. I've been here a relatively short amount of time, and yet you have all been so welcoming. You say hello to me, you remember my name, you ask about things that we've talked about weeks ago. You even come to church for the first time in months because we went to similar camps decades apart. That is a specific person, yes. I believe in each of us trying to make the world a better place. When I was little, a lot of things seemed to be talking about the meaning of life, the secret of life. And I was baffled by how the adults all seemed to have such long, complicated thoughts on what it is or isn't, or why it can or can't be this. Whereas to me, it's always been very simple. To leave the world a little bit better than we found it. To help whoever we can, however we can, without, of course, sacrificing ourselves in the process. I believe in the energy of the universe, and one of the easiest ways to connect with it through the flame. That fire, that heat, is turning the wick and wax into smoke, which is spreading into the air, and those atoms will eventually settle down and become something else. Like my mom said, dinosaurs and cornflakes. I believe in souls and spirits and magic. I don't know what happens if after death. I don't know if there's an afterlife. But I know that my Papa Richard and my Grandma Muriel and even my fake great-grandmother Irene are here with me today. I know that they are proud of me. And I know that they will stay with me forever, and that someday I will see them again. Unitarian Universalism has given me the knowledge and freedom to feel secure in the world. It has given me community pretty much wherever I go. And it has given me ways to find people of other communities, like the aforementioned camp. That is what Unitarian Universalism means to me. Thank you all for listening, and thank you to all the mothers and grandmothers who impact and change the lives of their descendants for the better. And thank you specifically to my own grandmother and grandfather for finding the UU Church that I love, and for giving their children the freedom to find communities that they love themselves. And thank you to my own mother for raising me in the same way, and my father for going along with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonja. It was great. It's great that we could learn a little bit more about you and your family, and I'm not sure how long more are you going to be here with us in New Zealand?
Just a couple of weeks.
Oh.
First Sunday of June is my last day.
Oh, well, I just hope that you come back. Now, the closing words is a poem from For All the Mothers by Linda Susan Ulrich. For all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members who mother, the soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, and it's complicated mothers, the birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used-to-be dad mothers, and more than one mum mothers, the single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers, the grieving mothers, those who grieve their mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother, and for all who depend on the great mother, you are held and beloved.